quick responses to people that have written me. So blame. It's a manipulation tool. It's a power tool against people as manipulators. So blame is one, and you want to say you're to blame for this or that. And I make quite clear, especially in my earlier videos, I make very clear, hey, you're responsible for your belief systems. Only you can be responsible for them, and you're going to choose them yourself, whether it's this or that. And so I say this is an opinion on my videos, so that people can look at the opinion and judge for themselves, logically judge for themselves. But to blame somebody is just trying to give power to someone else, to say I'm not guilty of this because I want to blame you. And that's so common now, and it's so stupid. It's such a power tool. So then they say, well, I'm not to blame, and then that gets into the defense, and so that's just trying to manipulate you. So the blame is this one. The second one is shame. I'm not ashamed. I was in religion, and shame was used quite readily, and and like it's used a lot. You should be ashamed of yourself. Well, I was told that the other day, and why should I be ashamed of myself? I've been very clear about the problems and pitfalls of the swinging lifestyle, non-monogamy. I've been very plain about the advantages of it. And so what should I be ashamed of? I found it personally to be better than monogamy, and I was happily monogamous for 19 years in the first marriage I had. So why should I be shamed? So shame is the second manipulation tool. And so the next one would be guilt. Guilt is kind of related to shame and blame, and they're kind of inappropriate to use as a manipulation tip. You should feel guilty. Well, what should I feel guilty about? Being honest, being straightforward, having a conversation like adults. Why would that incur guilt? Because I've encouraged, or not even encouraged, but said the advantages and disadvantages of a lifestyle and how it might help marriages and make marriages healthier. So that's another one. So the next one is about honesty, and I have to be honest with you. I try and be as honest as I can with myself and others and in my life, and honest with my videos, but honesty is an interesting thing that people purposely lie. People lie by accident, and people lie unknowingly. They lie because they want to cover up the truth. And so honesty and being lying and all that is something that most people avoid, but everybody lies to a certain extent. There's no perfectly honest. There are people who are rude and say, well, I'm just being honest. Well, no, that's just rudeness. You don't have to say it that way. Or you can just keep the truth to yourself. So I'm not a liar. I try not to lie. It is a virtue. I try not to lie. But lying does happen. So another manipulation is to lower your self-esteem. Manipulation can work by making you feel lesser about yourself. You are where you are in your place in life. And that place is where probably you should be. And that's a philosophy. Other religions have that philosophy. Other people have that philosophy where you're exactly where you should be in your growth pattern. And so that's, don't let anybody say you're any less than anybody else. You're not. You're not any dumber. You're not any smarter. You're not anything different. The richest man to the poorest man. You're not. Don't let anybody change your self-esteem. So that has to do with dignity too, and dignity is basically keeping your composure. Somebody's trying to get you mad or frustrated or whatever. If you keep your composure, you keep your dignity. And Portier said that during the 60s, he's Sidney Portier, and he was an actor, and they kept trying to torture him with the racism thing, and he said that they can take anything from you. They can take your life, they can take your body, they can take your freedom, but they can't take your dignity, and that's absolutely true. So dignity is a huge power tool to have against other people and not be able to use it. Don't let them undignify you. And you see that in debates a lot. People getting all frustrated and angry, and it's hard. It's hard in a debate, especially a serious debate. I did religious debates and political debates, and it's hard not to lose your dignity. But you keep it when you think, hey, you know what, this is a discussion. This is a two-way thing. And the calmer I stay and the more directed I stay, the better off I can keep my dignity. Okay, so there's a thing called group thinking, and group thinking is an amazing concept. You get a bunch of people, you give a bunch of people a thought, and they promote that thought like religion. God is great, and so they say that slogan, and everybody's going, "Yeah, God is great." And well, your God's not so great because your God does this or does that. Okay, so then you get the whole group thinking, "Well, your God's not so great; they do this and that," and so that's group thinking. And by doing that, you give your power tool to a religion or to a group or to a political group. You're not actually using your own reasoning capacity, and that's group thinking. And some brain scans in different political views have seen that some are more prone towards group thinking, some are more prone towards independent thinking, and there are studies that deal with that. You can email us and I'll send you the studies. But it's an interesting idea that you could be agreeing with people even though it's a wrong thought. I'll give examples of that too. So another power tool used against you is fear. Now, fear mongering is becoming huge. Fear this, fear that, fear what's going to happen, what thinks going to happen, and some of them are very much long shots. So you're thinking of fear. Should you fear an asteroid hitting the planet without any warning? Should you fear climate change? I got a kind of a medium view of climate change, but should you fear it? Because they're doing it to try and manipulate you, to motivate you, to use it as a power tool. And it's something that you need to really think, should I fear this? What are the odds of that happening? What are the odds of the consequences being what they should be? And climate change is one where, the understanding that we're polluting the earth and the consequences of those can be seen into the far future. But is it something we should fear now? Is it something that we should strip the land of lithium to do now? Is this something that we should invest in hydrogen power, which makes more sense for vehicles when you think about it? But that fear is something that can be outweighed by reason and thinking, no, let's take a reasonable view of this. There's nothing that's good. By the way, if you got rid of all carbon usage right now, it would be 30 to 50 years before the climate changed. Just a thought, 30 to 50 years. So there's no solution right now that's going to change anything. And a more reasonable view is a better way to deal with fears. Scapegoats. Okay, so in any group of chickens, they take one, female or male, and they start pecking at it, and they start pulling the feathers off. I've seen this done. It's pretty gruesome. That they're using one as a scapegoat or a henpecked chicken. Okay, but the scapegoat comes from the Jews. They had animal sacrifices for their sins. Okay, that's the concept. They gave animal sacrifices for the sins of their nation. And what they would do is they would put all the sins of the nation onto a goat, and the goat would go free, and then they would be free of their sins before God. That's their belief system. But in business and in life and in social scenes, they tend to make a scapegoat. It's all so-and-so's fault. Now something goes wrong in a company. Well, Bob did it. It's all Bob's fault. No. So scapegoat is a concept that is personal power. Don't let yourself be scapegoated. Using emotional tactics, making you try and feel sad. That's a power tool used against you. Oh, you should be ashamed of yourself. Well, you should feel bad for that puppy. Okay, so there's a reality to that, and that reality is very distinct. Not the puppy part, but there's a reality to using manipulation through emotions, and it usually has a backlash. So watch your emotions. Watch if somebody's trying to make you feel emotional about something. There movies purposely make you feel emotional. Sometimes that's good, especially if it has a good ending or a bad ending or whatever. Sometimes it makes you think. And it's a manipulation, but sometimes that's a good manipulation. In other ways, it can be bad to try and motivate you to do something you would normally do, or spend money you would normally spend money on, and the degree of help it might bring. And so emotionally, you want to watch how you're being manipulated, because it is a power tool to use against you, and you need to think about that.